Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka G-Lauren33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast, here with your SmackDown review and results for February 26, 2021. Hopefully, you guys are doing safe, staying safe and healthy, man. And you guys can hear the excitement in my voice, because if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, first of all, I don't know why you're not following me on Twitter, right? But I tweeted out that I was actually really excited to do the SmackDown review today. And the reason for that is last night's SmackDown was actually, in my opinion, one of the best SmackDowns in recent memory. Maybe even the best SmackDown, in a long time. And I'm not going to put specific date on it, but I can at least say this. Last night's SmackDown was probably the best SmackDown of the year so far. I know it's still kind of early, right? We're only about 2 months into the year, but I really enjoyed last night's show. This is the type of show we should be getting from not only SmackDown, but Raw as we entered the road to WrestleMania. Every single week, and I do want to apologize, I did record a Monday Night Raw review this week. I know most of you guys didn't see it. I set it to premiere on YouTube like I usually did, but there was a huge audio issue, so I had to take it down. So that's the reason why there was no Monday Night Raw review. But I did record one. It's just that the audio issues, I had to take them down because it was just not good. And I want to give you guys the best quality, so I apologize for that. But, Monday Night Raw, we had Bobby Lashley going after the WWE Championship, and that's about it. Everything else on Monday Night Raw is garbage, right? They look like they're setting up a Shard and Asuka feud going to WrestleMania again, and we've been there and we've done that already, and I'm not interested in seeing that feud, especially at WrestleMania, knowing all the curse that Shard has given Asuka over the years, right? But SmackDown last night, I was invested in everything, right? I'm invested into the Universal Championship. Even though it's predictable that we're getting Roman Reigns versus Edge at WrestleMania, the fact that they, the Daniel Bryan stuff, man, I'm invested into it because you guys all know, I said this for months, this should have been the match at WrestleMania. It should have been Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, right? And I'm still mad that, we're not getting it. I'm kind of I'm holding on to a little bit of hope that maybe, WWE changes his mind here. Maybe they make it to a triple threat with Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Roman Reigns. I would have no problem with us getting a triple threat Universal Championship match at WrestleMania. Some of the best WrestleMania main events of all time were triple threats, right? Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton and Batista from WrestleMania 30. The triple threat match between Chris Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, even though, WWE won't mention it, but I can because this is my podcast, right? I don't work for WWE, Seth Rollins versus Lesnar versus Roman from WrestleMania 31. We've had some epic triple threat matches in the past, man. And I feel like, if WWE wants to, they should go down that direction. It doesn't have to be Roman versus Edge. As great as the match is going to be, I've been saying for months that's not the story we should be getting at this time. The much better story, in my opinion, is Daniel Bryan versus Reigns. And if, somehow during the next couple weeks, WWE can convince us, right? Or not convince us. Daniel Bryan can convince them that him being in that triple threat at Mania is the best choice. I will take it. I'm not going to sit here and complain if we get Bryan versus Edge versus Roman. And you should not be complaining either. You can save a Roman Reigns versus Edge one-on-one match for later down the line. But if you get that opportunity to do a triple threat, because Daniel Bryan deserves to be in that position. You do not know how many more years Daniel Bryan's going to be with the company. Right? He said it himself, this is like this last hurrah, this last run for him. We don't know how long it's going to be, but you don't want to take any chances. We don't know what the world's going to look like in a year, right? We know that Daniel Bryan, he wants to go be a father. And, he probably doesn't want to always be on the road. It's probably convenient for him right now because you're only working once a week in the Thunderdome. Right? But we know that WWE's going to start touring again eventually at some point this year, since vaccinations are, more people are getting vaccinated by the day. So even if the live event schedule is reduced heavily, right, they're still going to be touring. So You know, it depends on how much Daniel Bryan wants to commit to being on the road. So I completely understand, you know, if this is his last run. He's done so much for the business. And if, you know, if he doesn't, you know, want to be there long term, if he wants to go into a more of a producer or creative role, I'm all here for it. But WWE needs to pay him back, and Daniel Bryan deserves one last championship run. Right? One last babyface run with the title at some point. As good as Roman is, he doesn't always have to be champion. You can give him a break here and there. If you want to give Bryan a couple months as champion, he deserves it, because we all know how good Daniel Bryan is. So I think if you get the opportunity, Daniel Bryan deserves to be in that spot. They're clearly building towards a program with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going into the fast lane, which is, I believe, about 3 weeks away, right? You know, but we'll just have to wait and see. And clearly the direction would be for Roman to beat Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. As much as I would hate to see it, with Roman's character work right now, there's no way he's losing that title before Mania, right? But, you know, I love Daniel Bryan too much, and he deserves that spot. It's going to bother me. Because honestly, what does Daniel Bryan do if he doesn't get a title match at Mania, right? Is he going to get that match with Seth Rollins? That could be the only other match I could see for Bryan at Mania, you know? And I'm going to be honest, you know, Seth Rollins right now, you know, what he's doing with Cesaro, it's going to elevate Cesaro. And Cesaro deserves a main event push. But I'm not totally behind Seth Rollins right now. I'm not really going with this whole heel character. It's overplayed in my book. I know they're trying to, you know, change it up a little bit, but I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it, you know? So, and I you know, Daniel Bryan versus Seth in Mania would be great, but I'm just not all the way there right now at the moment. I want to see Bryan going for the Universal Championship. I feel like we all feel he deserves it, right? But we'll discuss that a little bit more on the podcast today. You know, Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns for Fastlane is clearly being set up at the moment, and hopefully this leads to even bigger things for Bryan going to Mania. But like I said, the rest of the show was really good. You know, Sasha and Bianca is officially confirmed, right? So we're getting our dream match, Sasha and Bianca. Clearly that should be the main event of probably night one of Mania. I don't think anything you do with the WWE Championship should overshadow Sasha and Bianca. Not even Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. That's a match we've already seen. Even though it's, you know, at this point, and how WWE has done a fantastic job of booking Bobby Lashley, right? We've just saw this match less than a year ago on pay-per-view. You know, Sasha and Bianca is a fresh feud, right? You know, Corey Graves was talking about it like Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. So you can see how big a match WWE sees this. So if I was them, I would just, you know, be patient, you know, and I would give Sasha and Bianca the night one spot that they deserve. Also, what else happened on this show? You know, I'm just thinking mainly of those two big things, but WWE seems to be building up Otis and Chad Gable as a heel tag team, right? It looks like Baron Corbin and Sami Zayn might be a tag team going forward. And like I always say, if you don't have anything for these people in the, you know, in the singles division, put them in the tag team division. You know, SmackDown's tag team division is definitely way better than Monday Night Raw's at the moment. And the thing about it is, you need tag teams more than ever right now, because you have done a terrible job in the last 4 years of building up a tag team division on any of the two shows, Raw or SmackDown. So I see this as steps being taken to move forward, you know? So hopefully, right, you know, this is steps for WWE to move forward and actually build up a tag team division. But like I said, you know, I actually really enjoyed this show last night. You know, I know I'm forgetting some things off the top of my head, but I am loading up the notes right now, and we're going to go through it like we always do. So thank you guys for joining me on the podcast. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe by hitting that bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Also, follow me down on social media, guys. All right? But without wasting any time, let's get into it, because like I said, there's a lot to get into. A lot actually happened on this show. Oh, I also forgot to mention Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews' heel turn is absolutely fantastic. I love it. We've been asking for or Apollo heel turn for years now, man. And, the way Apollo was presented as a heel last night, it was great. And hopefully, they continue his momentum going forward, because this should lead him, to becoming IC champion at some point. But anyway, SmackDown started off again, the show started off with Roman Reigns, right? And like I said, every week you can legit bet that Roman Reigns is going to be the one to start the show. And as good as Roman is, it's just annoying. It's the only thing that I feel like I have to repeat myself on, other than, how Sasha needs to retain at Mania. It's just annoying as hell, because why does Roman need to start the show every single week? It's just repetitive. Like some weeks, like this week, you could have started with Apollo's heel turn, or you could have started with Sasha and Bianca's segment, or you could have started with the Seth Rollins and Cesaro segment, right? Because those 3 segments I really enjoyed on the show, outside of what they did with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. We don't need the same thing every week. Roman doing his 4-minute entrance, right? Like, it's just repetitive. And it just gives up the stigma of, like, you're too comfortable. Just because SmackDown is in a way better position creatively than Monday Night Raw doesn't give you the excuse to have lazy writing. I don't care how good the segments are. It's lazy writing if you're doing the same thing every week with Roman Reigns. Every week. I've said it. If you want to do it 2 times out of a month, right? Since in a month you usually have 4 weeks, which means 4 SmackDowns, that's fine. But do we really have to do Roman Reigns starting the show every week? Do we really have to do that? I don't think we do. So that was just me just nitpicking this a little bit too much. But because this was a good segment, it's just, I'm just annoyed. Like, why does Roman start the show every week? Like, legit, they need to add something on FanDuel or Fox Bet or all those other boxing or betting sites, right? How much you want to bet that Roman Reigns will start the show? How big would the odds be, man? But anyway, Roman started off, they're doing a really good job of making you actually dislike Roman. Like, you want to see him lose, right? He's the sneaky heel that finds way to not have to defend his title in big matches, right? Not having to defend his title inside the Elimination Chamber, and having a Universal Championship match with Daniel Bryan 30 seconds after he won his chamber match, giving him a huge advantage to the point where it was not believable that Bryan had any chance against Roman. There was no believability in it. And, for Roman's character as a heel, it's fantastic. But for us as a viewer, it's just like, really? Like, come on, we know better. Plus, he has Jey Uso always interfering in his matches, right? Helping him, have an advantage. So, like, they've done a really good job of making you, actually kind of dislike Roman, and kind of you want to see him actually fail, right? You kind of want to see him lose that title now, right? So, Roman says, I don't think it's a secret that SmackDown needs me, right? And he said the same thing for Elimination Chamber. He said, like the tribal chief he is, he showed up and balled out. I show up in this ring and operate at another level, right? So basically, like I said, he's being very cocky here, because we all know that it would have been a much more difficult title defense if Daniel Bryan was 100%. He had just spent 40 minutes in a chamber match where he started off first with Cesaro and survived all the way through. There was no believability that Roman was going to lose that title at all. Daniel Bryan was not a threat to him. Not a threat at all, right? Roman Reigns looked at Daniel Bryan in that moment like he was Enzo Amore, all right? So he said that Edge kept the Elimination Chamber from being a perfect night by making the WrestleMania main event official. Roman said, you don't want it. You don't need that in your life, Edge. He reminded Edge that he is a father and a husband, and that the head of the table doesn't want to hurt him, And Roman was like, this is why a man like you doesn't stand a chance against a man like me. So good stuff here from Roman, And you got to remember here, Roman was the one a couple weeks ago that felt it was disrespectful. He felt it was disrespectful that Edge didn't even want to challenge him. Remember, because Edge kept us hostage for a month. Same thing with Bianca BelAir. And, hopefully next year, right, when we have crowds back in arenas and all that, they don't make us have to wait a month for these WrestleMania decisions. It's only be no more than a week. If it's after the first Raw and SmackDown after the Rumble, it should be, the Raw and SmackDown the week after. Because we should not be having to wait a month to figure out who Edge and Bianca Belair are going to face. That was ridiculous, right? We all knew it was pretty obvious that Bianca was going to go after Sasha and Edge was going to go after Roman. They made that pretty clear from the jump, because Bianca made one appearance on Raw. She's been teasing it to Sasha now for 4 weeks. And we finally got it confirmed tonight. And Edge, they teased it from the first SmackDown he appeared on, where Roman felt disrespected that Edge didn't choose him. It was obvious from the jump. It wasn't like, unless you're a casual, right? Unless you're a casual idiot. And I know some of you guys get offended when I say this, but like I said, I'm here to educate you. I'm not here to stroke your egos or make you hear what you want to hear. I'm here to give you facts. Right? Because I know how WWE operates. All right? Unless you're a casual idiot who doesn't understand the business, who doesn't understand the creative side of things, they want you to sit there on your hands and knees begging to know who Edge was going to face. Even though it was obvious who Edge and Bianca were going to face the entire time. All right? But, I love how Reigns, a couple weeks ago felt disrespected that Edge didn't choose him from the jump, right? And now, he's saying that you don't want this work. So, Roman having no respect for Edge, right? He just wanted Edge to choose him just because he wanted to be acknowledged as the top champion, not because he wanted to face Edge at the end of the day, So, then Daniel Bryan comes out. Daniel Bryan comes up and he suggested that some fans believe that Reigns was a coward for showing up and beating him down after he had just won the Elimination Chamber match. He issued a challenge to Reigns for a match at Fastlane, right? And then Jey Uso came in and, ripped the mic from him, right? And Jey Uso was like, you lost at the Elimination Chamber. You don't get another title shot. So, Jey Uso now is blindsided. Remember, Jey Uso got 2 title matches against Roman when he was still a babyface last fall. But we all know, if Daniel Bryan was at 100%, he would have a much better opportunity, a much better percentage. Because we all know Daniel Bryan's one of the best in the world, right? And Roman Reigns should recognize that. So if Daniel Bryan was at 100%, it would have not been as easy for Reigns at the Elimination Chamber, right? So Jey Uso was yelling at Daniel Bryan to get to the back of the line. You don't want any of this, right? So then Reigns goes up to Bryan and says, do you really want me to hurt you again? So, and all of a sudden, Jey Uso blindsides Bryan with a super kick, right? Then tosses him to the front row, out of the arena. And then all we see is then the heels, Reigns, Uso, and Heyman, they head backstage to wrap up the segment, right? So like I said, they're making you dislike Roman, right? Because he takes every shot he can, to get the edge on his opponent, no matter if it's by Jey Uso or, getting out of title shots, all of that. So Roman's a smart champion, but they're supposed to make you dislike him because he takes easy outs. Something that the old Roman Reigns would never do. So backstage, Edge interrupts Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, right? And he was taking, exception to the fact that Bryan could be getting a Universal title opportunity at Fastlane before him, despite being in the same Rumble he won. So here you have Edge, basically, he's not that happy here, even though he respects Daniel Bryan, he's not that happy that, Bryan trying to get another title opportunity, even though Bryan had the same chances he did being in the Rumble. But this is where the problem all comes, This is what happens when you have Edge hold us hostage for a month with his decision, right? Because the thing about it is, Reigns should have defended in the chamber. And if he wasn't, the chamber would have decided who Reigns would face at WrestleMania. That's what you guys are not understanding. You know, it made no sense. I don't care how good it was for Roman's character. It made no sense for Roman Reigns to face Daniel Bryan right after he won the Elimination Chamber. I know it reminds us of John Cena and Batista, right? Or Edge and John Cena from years past, in past Elimination Chamber moments, but it still made no sense. It really didn't. Because there was no shot that Daniel Bryan was going to win that match, right? It wasn't like Daniel Bryan was the champion. That was supposed to make him the number one contender, you know? So I understand why Edge has an argument here, but Edge saw what we saw in Elimination Chamber. It wasn't a fair title shot for Bryan, all right? And if Edge was in that same position that Bryan was at the Elimination Chamber, he would be complaining as well. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it, you know? So yeah, and here's the thing. What? So is Roman Reigns, like Sasha Banks, some of these other champions, are they not supposed to defend their titles up until WrestleMania, which is a month and a half away, when we still have another pay-per-view ahead of us? So what? Are they supposed to just sit still and do promos for the next 6 weeks? No. Every champion should be defending their title at least once before WrestleMania in the next 6 weeks. That's my mindset of it, right? Prove that you actually deserve to be on the WrestleMania stage. You know, you don't just get to walk from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania without defending your title once. Like, I hate that nonsense, man. Excuse me, but you know, either way, this was all really good stuff. I love what Reigns is doing, and you know, Daniel Bryan, man. Even though this is leading the fast lane, I just feel like Bryan deserves to be in this spot. I hope it turns into a triple threat. I really do. You know, so then moving on, we had Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus Otis and Chad Gable, right? So you guys have been seeing Otis is now a heel. He's now a heel, right? And look, it just never got to this point, really, because Otis should still be teaming with Tucker. I'm gonna keep saying it, even though they're probably never gonna get back together. Tucker's WWE career is most likely over, right? But you know, at the end of the day, man, you know, it is what it is. But it should never got to this point, because WWE just doesn't have long-term story building. Like, we never even got an Otis and Tucker feud. You know, they just had the one breakup at what was it, Hell in a Cell? Right? They just had the breakup. Tucker turns on Otis, and that's it. Ever since then, Tucker's career has been dead. He's been a jobber going after the 24/7 title, right? And Otis is in this team with Chad Gable, and even though I like them together, Otis and Tucker fit so much better in Heavy Machinery. And the thing about it is, it looks like they're getting, you know, they're trying to build up, you know, Otis and Chad Gable, because I don't think they have a team name or anything. It looks like they're being built up as a heel tag team, but you know, where is this going to lead them at the end of the day? You know, remember, Rude and Ziggler are still your heel SmackDown Tag Team Champions, right? I want the Street Profits to win those titles, because I really want a Street Profits Uso feud at Mania, because I have seen videos. Jimmy Uso, he is coming back. He's getting healthier, and it looks like he's going to be able to return soon. I would love to see that match at WrestleMania. That should be your big tag team title match, because the Raw tag team division is a mess right now, right? You have no teams outside of the Lucha House Party, the New Day, and the Hurt Business. That's probably going to be a triple threat tag team match at Mania, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? So you need to have at least one big tag team match, and I would do the Street Profits and the Usos if Jimmy Uso is able to come back on time. So I would have the Street Profits win those titles back at Fastlane, right? And then go into WrestleMania and face the Usos. You could have Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso like attack them after Fastlane. That would be the easy way to set up a WrestleMania match between those two, right? So like I like Otis. I like Otis's aggressiveness as a heel, right? And I also like how he's actually wearing ring gear. He's not sitting there wrestling, shirtless. But it's good that they're getting built up. I'm just trying to see where is this gonna lead them at the end of the day. Like, I don't see them becoming SmackDown Tag Team Champions, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying they can't be a good tag team in that division, because they definitely have, the promise of it. But, where is this leading? Because they are heels right now. You already have heel champions in the division, you know? And so I don't know. We'll see. And like I said, I like how WWE seems to be putting more teams together on SmackDown because that's what you need. It's just, I just don't really know where you go from here, if that makes sense. Because you can only take them so far, right? So they beat Dominic and Ray. I'm happy that Dominic and Ray are tag teaming because that's where they should be. I say this all the time. Maybe at some point this year, Dominic and Ray can be built up to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions. You know, that father and son storyline writes itself. So, we'll see. We'll see, man. I have a heat in my house, like, all day, and it's actually pissing me off, you know? So, if you guys see me, like, get down for a couple seconds, pause, but it's because I have to check, you know, the heat to see if it turns on. But, man, that's annoying me. Anyway, you know, the match was pretty simple, right? After Dominic and Ray tried to do their comeback, Otis crashed into Mysterio's rib with a big splash for the win. And Otis' splash these last couple weeks has looked really good, especially for a guy of his, you know, size. So, like I said, I like what they're doing with Otis right now. You know, we'll just have to see how far does it really take them. Next up, we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Apollo Crews. Like I said earlier, this could have honestly started the show. All right, we had Apollo officially turn heel last week with that brutal attack on Big E where he threw the steps on him. Even though we couldn't see it on camera, but most likely it was because like he didn't really, really throw the steps onto on the Big E. They just made it seem that way, which, did write Big E off television. I don't know when Big E's going to come back. Most likely it would be for Fastlane. But, I liked what they did with the story here, and it's now, making me think that Apollo deserves to go in the WrestleMania as IC champion. And I'm not saying I want this feud to go all the way to WrestleMania, because, like I said, there's still other factors. I could definitely see Seth Rollins or Cesaro or Daniel Bryan if Bryan doesn't get that Universal Championship match that I want him to get. Those are all names I could see being put into the hat to potentially be in the IC Championship match, right? Because if they're not in the IC Championship match, they're most likely going to be in the Battle Royal. And none of those names deserve to be in the Battle Royal. None of those 5 names should be in there. Right? Apollo just turned heel. Big E's been great as a babyface, right? Cesaro just turned babyface, and he's looking good. I didn't even mention Shinsuke Nakamura, who you're trying to build back up as a babyface, right? You have Seth, who's still heel. You have Daniel Bryan. Like, there's a lot to consider here, So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this leads to like a 6-pack challenge for the IC Championship. I didn't even mention Kevin Owens. Like, Kevin Owens, what is he going to do at WrestleMania? There's so much here to consider, man. So much. That's what I'm talking about. WWE has so much talent that they're not using. You have Aleister Black, who hasn't even been on TV in months. There's so much. WWE has the potential to have an incredible mid-card division and main event division as well. But half the time, they're not using the talent that they have to their full advantage. Buddy Murphy, another name. I'm just thinking of these names coming up to my head as they come. Like, that's like 8 names right there that all deserve to have some type of match at WrestleMania. And I can put all those names into the hat to be in the IC Championship. Maybe you end up doing an IC Championship ladder match. I'm not against that. You put all those names into a ladder match for the IC Championship, because as we get closer and closer to the Mania, man, you got to consider it. You got to think about it, right? But, either way, man, let's focus on Apollo Crews here for a second, right? We've been saying for years that we would want to see Apollo as a heel. And we finally got that last week. And, he came out tonight. I think his music changed. I wasn't really paying attention to his entrance, but I think he got new music. But he came out with new attire. He had this really nice scarf around himself. to showcase his Nigerian origins, and the way he cut this promo tonight, this was the best Apollo's ever looked on the mic. And, the intensity was there, the aggression, and I absolutely love it, right? So Apollo said that he was no longer willing to be someone that he isn't. He embraced the Nigerian heritage of wealth, dominance, and power. And then, he talked about how basically the caterers are the catalyst, not the caterers. The catalyst for this turn really was Big E disrespecting him, telling him to go back to catering, right? And even though Big E had a point because Apollo had multiple IC championship shots and had failed every single time, right? But the fact that, he didn't just listen to Big E, he decided to make a statement and actually fully turn on his once friend, it was like, damn, why didn't we get this Apollo earlier? This is an Apollo I would have loved to see in the Hurt Business. I remember last year, him and the Hurt Business feuded for like 3 months. And even though it wasn't the best feud, right, you always thought, what if Apollo turns heel and actually joins the Hurt Business here? It was like, what would Apollo look like as a heel at first? This is what Apollo would look like as a heel. And the way he came up tonight, he felt like he actually believed what he was saying. When he pulled out that Nigerian accent, I thought, hey, man, I can see Apollo in the next Black Panther movie. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But, I loved it. The confidence he had, he looked motivated, he looked refreshed. Right? Because remember, Paul had been on the main roster now for close to 5 years. I remember the night he debuted. It was like the night after WrestleMania. And he had so much promise. And we've all known this for years, And all he had to show for the last 5 years is that one short U.S. championship run he had earlier last year. And it wasn't that good because WWE didn't give him the credible opponents he should have faced. Right? It was just really him going up against the Hurt Business every single week. And it got tired and it got boring fast. Right? And then Bobby Lashley eventually took that title from him. And I like how Apollo's finally getting some of that spotlight. Right? Because Big E, he's already a big name. No matter if he's in a singles division or not. No matter if he's with the New Day or not. We all know who Big E is. I feel like we all know that Big E is probably a main event player. Right? So if Apollo wins that IC championship, it's not going to hurt Big E at the end of the day. All right? If anything, it's going to elevate Big E because we know Big E and Apollo, they can go. They have decent chemistry in the ring with one another. And Apollo deserves that big spot because if Apollo goes and he loses the Big E and that's it, this heel turn is going to be all for nothing. It's like the same thing they did with Aleister Black. You turned Aleister Black into a heel, right? And we all got excited for it, and it led to nothing. Right? So if you're going to go full-fledged, right, you're going to go full throttle on this Apollo heel turn, it has to lead with him winning the IC championship at some point, probably Fastlane, because he has the look. We know he can go in the ring, right? Now he's showing it to us on the mic with his character work. And, you need to let him go full force with it, because if you don't, and this leads to Apollo getting beat by Big E again, we're going to sit here and be like, what was the point of the heel turn? You tried to guys invest into Apollo Crews for nothing, right? So, I'm not asking for Apollo to get a year-long IC championship reign. No one's saying that. But this is the next step for him. He needs to become a prominent player in that mid-card division now. No matter if he has the title or not. He has to be consistently on television. He needs to be having good feuds, right? Because now that Apollo is heel, that opens up the book for him to have feuds with so many people. From Big E to Cesaro, the Nakamura like we're seeing right now, right? The Kevin Owens, the list goes on and on and on. So you really need to, take advantage of it, right? You really got to take advantage of this. All right. But yeah, this would lead to Apollo. He got interrupted here by Shinsuke Nakamura, right? Remember, they've been, feuding for a couple weeks now, so it's a side feud for Apollo as he's trying to get the IC championship away from Big E. And remember, they're still trying to build Nakamura back up as well as a babyface. He's trying to return to the King of Strong style. So Basically, Apollo did show a little bit of new offense here, right? And I like that because he is a heel. We saw Roman do the same thing when he turned heel. So I like this, and the way Apollo was presented tonight, it reminded me of something Paul Heyman would do. So maybe Heyman is starting to have a little more influence with some of the characters over there on SmackDown. But anyway. So sorry, I got interrupted because people are in my house. But anyway, basically, so the match ended actually. So Apollo actually did an angle slam, like Michael Cole on commentary didn't want to refer to it as an angle slam, but it was an angle slam. There's no way you could say it was otherwise, right? Don't try to call it to the Apollo slam or anything like that. It was an angle slam, right? And it actually got Cruz a clean victory here. Against well, it wasn't clean because Cruz did grab hold of his scarf and then used it to, put Nakamura in the turnbuckle. But still, it is a big victory for Apollo getting, I guess you could say a semi-clean victory over Nakamura. But, this is just to put over Apollo as a heel, right? And clearly, when Big E comes back, we're going to get a IC title match between them, most likely at Fastlane. And Apollo probably needs to win that match. Because like I said, this would have all been a waste of our time if it wasn't being done otherwise. So next up, we had Liv Morgan versus Tamina Snuka. I don't know what the hell Natalya was wearing at ringside. I don't know if this is like her new attire or something like that. But it seems like they're trying, all right? They're trying to build up Tamina and Natalya as a team. Which just, I don't got any problem with. I don't. It's just, where is this going as well? Do you plan on having Tamina and Natalya become tag team champions at some point? Right? Because it's like, I don't know. If Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez don't win those titles, because I know they have that title they're having a title match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler on NXT this coming week, which I'm actually excited for. It's going to be interesting. Who's going to take those titles off of Jax and Baszler? Sasha and Bianca clearly weren't able to do it at the Elimination Chamber. So, who's going to do it? Nia and Tamina, or not Nia and Tamina. Tamina and Natty are heels. So, but it does seem WWE is building them up. I don't know why WWE keeps having the Riot Squad lose. I don't know, like Vince just doesn't like Liv and Ruby. He likes it as a team, but just doesn't like them enough to give them the push. Because for those of you guys who listen to the podcast all the time, I've been saying WWE needs to make those two tag team champions. It's mind blowing to me how they haven't won those tag team titles, and they've been the longest team that's been together in the tag team division. Most of these teams have been put together over the last year, right? And, the Riot Squad, they've been teaming since 2017 when Paige came back, right before Paige had to retire again. But they've been together since basically 2017, 2018, So they've been together all this time, over 3 years of tagging together and then have no tag team title reigns to show for it, right? And they've been heel, they're babyface now. It's like, come on. Liv Morgan, I was talking to one of my friends about this. Liv Morgan's one of the most underrated in that women's division. People don't understand how good Liv Morgan actually is. So, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but let me know what you guys think, man. I feel like the Riot Squad, man, they're getting done dirty. There's got to be some reason why they have not been pushed. But this match wasn't too long, right? Tamina dominated Liv Morgan here, delivered her with a Samoan drop and put her away for the 1, 2, 3, right? So on commentary, they were talking about how Natalya, right? It seems like Natalya has been, trying to remotivate, reinvigorating Tamina. So this could be building her up for a potential SmackDown championship match. Right? Like I say, Sasha, I need Sasha to defend at Fastlane. She should have defended at the Elimination Chamber, but I didn't complain about it too much because I thought her and Bianca were going to win the tag titles. They were going to go the John Cena HBK 2007 route. But since they decided not to, and Sasha got pinned clean, right? They had Nia pin both Sasha and Asuka clean in the last week, which still mind blows me to this day, right? You know, I was like, what are we doing here? But I need Sasha to defend. If the story here is Sasha needs a challenger for Fastlane, someone that's not Bayley or Carmella, do Sasha versus Tamina. All right, there's history there. Remember, they're in T-Bad, and then you want Tamina to have her best match ever. Tamina's been with the company for well over a decade. I don't remember any real Tamina match I enjoyed. I don't. Right, I didn't even enjoy Bayley versus Tamina last year from Money in the Bank. It was mostly because Sasha was there that I actually was paying attention. So if you want to give Tamina the best match ever that you can get out of her, put her up against Sasha at Fastlane. It's a short 1 month feud, but because of that 1 month feud, right? You can do the story quick because Sasha's going to be on the bigger things with Bianca and Mania, and there's nothing else to really say about it. Nothing else to really say about it. So if you're gonna have Sasha defend, at Fastlane, because she is teased in the promo for Fastlane, I would have no problem with you doing Sasha Tamina as a one-off, right? A quick feud, and Sasha wins, gets another title defense before getting to WrestleMania, right? So moving on, we're going to talk about Sasha Bianca in just a second, right? I want to get through some of this other stuff. We had the Street Profits versus Sami Zayn and King Corbin. So basically, they've been doing this, this journey to the Street Profits getting back to the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Because they never got a rematch against Rude and Ziggler, right? And the Street Profits, they've been firing on all cylinders. I believe they beat Otis and Gable a couple weeks ago when they were still babyface, and did they beat Ray and Dominic already? I'm not sure if they did in that match already, but the Street Profits have they've been on a roll since they lost the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and clearly I personally believe the Street Profits should have never lost those titles, really, but they faced off against Sami Zayn and King Corbin, right? Basically, but Corbin and Zayn dominated the match. The big thing here is Corbin kept getting annoyed with Zayn's camera crew, right? Because Sami Zayn's filming like documentary of how there's a conspiracy against him, right? Gotta love Sami Zayn and his theories, but still, this was a decent match. It wasn't anything special, but near the end, Dawkins did like a new move. I don't know what it was. It was like half pedigree, half neck breaker. So maybe you could call it the pedigree breaker. It was a really cool move. Like he just deadlifts. He deadlifts. He deadlifted Sami Zayn into the pedigree position, right? Lifts him up, and it does a neck breaker, which looked great. And then Ford finished him with a frog splash. Michael Cole is now stealing Tom Phillips's from the heavens. And you guys know I hate Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton. That's the only good line Tom Phillips has. He is so cringe to listen to on commentary, right? He's so generic and vanilla and politically scripted with everything he says. At least with Michael Cole, it's a little more organic, right? Michael Cole, he's not the greatest commentator in the world, but at least when I'm listening to Michael Cole, right, he doesn't sound as politically scripted as Tom Phillips does. Right? It's like Tom Phillips is trying to please his bosses backstage, right? To keep that job as Raw commentator. Michael Cole, he's been there for a long time and he knows how the business works. So it's like, he could kind of say whatever he wants without getting in trouble, right? But either way, man, I like how they're building the Street Profits back up. I could definitely see them facing Rude and Ziggler maybe at Fastlane, because like I said, I believe the Street Profits deserve to walk into WrestleMania as tag team champions. That's my thing. I still want the Street Profits versus the Usos, like I said earlier, and that's the way we should be going, but we'll see, Uh, all right. Next up, before we talk about Sasha and Bianca, we had Cesaro. This was a short segment. It wasn't that long, but this was good. So Seth Rollins came back. Seth Rollins, he's playing this delusional heel now, right? And he's been talking about how his vision, and basically he talked about how he filed a formal complaint last week, and the traction was getting on social media, and then Cesaro interrupted. Rollins tried to defuse the situation, talking about how Cesaro wanted to shatter the brass ring and achieve success at the top level in WWE, and he wanted Cesaro to join him, right? And, Rollins said if Cesaro had joined him, he could have the same success that Rollins had already had in his career, championships, big-time pay-per-view matches, things of that nature, and, Rollins also said if Cesaro had followed the vision a couple weeks ago and not walked out on him like everybody else, he would have won the Universal Championship at the Elimination Chamber. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but Rollins is playing that delusional heel. You gotta remember that. And even though I'm kind of sick and tired of it, especially with some of these outfits that Rollins has been wearing, these last 2 weeks, he wore this white, I don't know, it's like half tracksuit, half suit. He wore white. It was like a white sweatpants with a white suit jacket. And then last week he was wearing cheetah print in the same style. I don't know what the hell Rollins is wearing these days. His freaking ring attire is more delusional than his promos. You know what I mean? But anyway, what we saw is, after Rollins had tried, he told Cesaro, take a couple weeks, think about it. All of a sudden, Cesaro drops Rollins and hits him with a giant swing. This was probably the greatest swing we've seen. We've seen Cesaro swing Big Show and Great Khali, but he swung Seth Rollins for close to a minute. This was great, right? And then he hit a huge uppercut on Rollins. So, they're clearly trying to build up Cesaro as a babyface, right? Because he's been heel the last couple of years. And I like it. I like how they're trying to build Cesaro up here. And, like I said, maybe this does lead him to a future Universal Championship shot. I don't know. It's going to depend because I feel like the roster is going to get shaken up again after WrestleMania. We're going to probably have a superstar shakeup. It could be a draft, but I think a superstar shakeup's more likely because we just had a draft in October, and maybe we see Cesaro move to Raw and go after the WWE Championship. I've been thinking about a Cesaro Bobby Lashley match for a while now. I would love to see something like that. I am happy that Cesaro is getting this push as a babyface. It's just gonna be interesting to see how deep they're willing to go with Cesaro, because you think about it. Monday Night Raw right now has SmackDown has, a good amount of baby faces. You have Daniel Bryan, you have Kevin Owens, you have Cesaro, you have Nakamura, you have Daniel Bryan, right? So, there seems to be a lot of baby faces on that show. And, it's probably, I didn't even mention Big E as well, right? And it's starting to become a little bit of an imbalance with baby faces and heel. Because you have Reigns, you have Rollins, and I think that's about it. And you have Apollo Crews, who just turned heel. So, and you have Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin, but I feel like you need one more heel. So, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But I do like how Cesaro's being built up as a babyface. After he finished off Rollins, Daniel Bryan came up for his match, which would be the main event. And, he gave him a fist bump. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about Sasha and Bianca. Alrighty, so Sasha and Bianca, right? This is something we've been talking about even before the Royal Rumble. This is a match that's been teased since before Bianca even, made her intentions clear that she was coming for the SmackDown Women's title. They've been teasing this match since, Bianca got drafted to SmackDown. And we've been predicting this match for WrestleMania for months. Even when Bianca won the Royal Rumble, there was really never a shot that she was going to actually go after Asuka. From the jump, every week, they had Sasha Bianca in segments together. Sasha saying, just choose me, you want to. If you want to make history, right? If you want to face the best, right? You're going to choose me. And, Bianca's been teasing it too. There was no reason to make us wait. There was no reason to make us wait this long for Bianca's decision. Because it didn't do anything, right? It didn't really hype it up for me. Because we all knew it was like 95 to 5% chance that Bianca was going to choose Sasha instead of going after the Raw Women's Championship, right? The only problem is Sasha needs to win at WrestleMania. I've been saying this. If Sasha already had a WrestleMania victory under her belt, then, this wouldn't be a problem. This wouldn't be an issue. I would have no problem with Sasha putting Bianca over in a banger, because I feel like this is going to be the best women's match of the year. I really think that. I don't think there's anything else unless Sasha puts on another classic. This is a dream match that people have been wanting to see for so long, and there's a good chance it's probably going to main event the first night of WrestleMania. We've been wanting to see this match for so long, and now that we're finally getting it, there's no way they're going to disappoint, right? The only problem is Sasha needs to retain. She can't go 0-6 at WrestleMania. It's already known how Sasha has never won a WrestleMania match already in nearly 6 years with the company on the main roster, which is so disrespectful for someone many consider to be one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time. Right? This is Bianca's first WrestleMania. They already have the EST Mania merch up, right? And, I understand Bianca, you're trying to build her up as the big baby face, but I've already made videos on this. She doesn't need to win at Mania. I feel like you need to save Bianca's big title victory for SummerSlam. And here's the thing. Bianca wins the title. Who's she going to feud with? There's still way more options for Sasha to feud with than Bianca, right? Because you kind of had Bianca run through most of the women's division on path to getting to Sasha. Sasha, she's only really faced Bayley and Carmella and Asuka since she won the title. Those are the only three opponents she's really had. And then she had, of course, Nia and Shayna, but they aren't on SmackDown. They're on Raw, right? Bianca, you had her run through Tamina and Natalya. She ran through Bayley, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bianca and Carmella, in the next couple weeks, because we still have one more pay-per-view till Mania, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do a mini feud with Bianca and Carmella just to keep Bianca busy these next couple weeks. But if you give Bianca the title, right, who's she going to feud with? She's already feuded with Bayley, you do a rematch with Sasha, right, and that's it. There's really nobody else unless you reshake the rosters. It would make a lot more sense for Sasha to hold on to that title, give her the championship reign that we all know Sasha deserves, and have her remain champion and, lose that title to Bianca at SummerSlam. You could tell a much bigger story here. And like I said, there's so many different avenues this story could go. You could have Sasha turn heel at Mania, doing anything she has to do to retain her title. You can have Bianca turn heel after Mania, due out of frustration to losing to Sasha. You could have Bianca win Money in the Bank, right? There's so many different things you can do with the storyline, right? Go in the path of just having Bianca defeat Sasha clean. It's not the route you should go. I feel like that would just be rushing Bianca's push. She doesn't need the WrestleMania victory. It's her first WrestleMania, right? She doesn't need to go 0-5 like Sasha does and have a WrestleMania curse to her name. But Bianca does not need the WrestleMania victory this year. This is not the Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair situation. And I feel like I got to keep stressing this to you guys, right? And I hate that I do, but it's just the facts at the end of the day. This is not the same situation it was with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte last year. So here's the thing, So you had Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville in the ring. Part of me was thinking, what if Sonya attacks Sasha here? Just because Sasha needs a fresh opponent for Fastlane. And I'm going to keep harping on that. No matter if it's Tamina, who they look to be building up at the moment, or Natalya, right? I still want to see a Sasha versus Sonya match. These are matches that we need to see this summer, right? That's what I'm saying Sasha needs to retain. Because you want to elevate the SmackDown Women's division, Sasha needs to remain champion until SummerSlam. Bianca's not ready. I'm telling you right now, if you rush Bianca becoming champion at WrestleMania, I'm not saying Bianca's going to fail, but I do not think Bianca is ready, right? Give it a couple more months. Wait till SummerSlam. Be patient. It's going to be a bigger victory and a bigger moment. All right, because on the surface, you give Bianca the title at Mania, you strap the rocket to her back, and you have no one for her to feud with. That's going to be just like what happened with Becky Lynch after WrestleMania. Remember how weak Becky's title reign was? Especially after WrestleMania, when all she had to face her was Lacey Evans for 3 months. It wasn't until Sasha came back that that Becky's title reign was actually decent, right? Because I as much as I love Becky and I miss her, I'm gonna keep saying the truth. Becky Lynch's 1 year as Raw Women's Champion was not that good. I'm afraid the same thing will happen to Bianca if you try to rush this title reign, just to give her the championship. Save it for SummerSlam. Save it for SummerSlam, right? Have Sasha feud with Tamina or Natalya go into Fastlane, do a one-off. Have Sasha retain, no matter how you do it, at Mania. Have Sasha, you can have her feud with Sonya Deville. You can have her feud with Tamina and Natalya or somebody else, right? I would love to see Sasha face Liv Morgan at some point, right? You can bring somebody else back. Maybe Becky's back at that point, or Ronda Rousey. Who knows? Maybe you have a superstar shakeup. Give Sasha a couple more title matches in the summer, and then have her feud with Bianca again in SummerSlam into the fall months. That's what you need to do. It's really that simple. I don't understand what about this concept people aren't understanding. It's not going to hurt Bianca at all if she loses at Mania, right? But anyway, Bianca came out looking beautiful as ever. Reginald interrupted, and Reginald actually has his own music and pyro now. So it looks like, or not pyro, he has his own graphics. So it looks like Reginald's going to be sticking around for a little bit longer. But I'm kind of getting tired of. I like Reginald as a character. It's just that you don't need him there every week interrupting. They've done this now like 4 times. We don't need Reginald interrupting Sasha and Bianca's segments. This is not about Reginald. This is not about Carmella. Let Sasha and Bianca tell their story, right? You had Reginald cost them the tag titles at Elimination Chamber, whatever. It's in the past, right? But now let this story be about Sasha and Bianca. The segment was pretty good, but I felt like it would have been a lot better if you didn't have Reginald there. Reginald came out talking about how Bianca calling, herself the EST of WWE, but it's Sasha, but Sasha is the best, right? And Reginald was trying to tell her, if you face Sasha at Mania, you're gonna lose. Yeah, even though I like how Reginald is like the biggest Sasha Banks simp in the world now, after Sasha beat him in a match, but it's like, we don't need it. We don't need it right now. All right? Like, calm down. This is about Sasha Bianca, not about Reginald here. So Sasha finally came to the ring wearing an amazing, the attire she was wearing tonight was like, it was basically her TLC gear, but in a sports suit form. I loved the way it looked. Sasha's always slaying it with the outfits, man. And Sasha said that, even though she respects Bianca, and how she calls herself the EST, she's not the EST in terms of being the best. Sasha said, I'm the best. I'm the champion. This women's division revolves around me. She'll just pick me, right? And Bianca was like, And she finally said that I'm going to make you eat your words. I'm going to take your title, right? And, I'm going to beat you on the grandest stage of them all. And she said at WrestleMania, it's on. So it's finally confirmed, Sasha and Bianca at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's title. So excited for it. It's finally confirmed. No more speculation, right? Even though we knew from the second Bianca won the Rumble that we were getting it, but now we have the official confirmation. I've been looking at, that's the WWE social media pages, how they've been already started marketing for the match. It's going to be the main event of night 1. All right? As much as I love Drew and Bobby Lashley, Sasha and Bianca deserves to be the night 1 WrestleMania main event, right? And the big thing, man, the big thing here, just knowing, being a fan of Sasha Banks, right? And I've followed her journey all the way from New England Championship Wrestling to now, just knowing from where she's come from to now that she's most likely going to be main eventing one of the nights of WrestleMania, that's incredible. it really is incredible. And she's the GOAT. Another thing, she's done so much in her 6 years in WWE, and she's only 29. She's not in her 30s. She's 29. She's just entering her prime for wrestling, right? And it's incredible to think how Sasha Banks is going to be main eventing WrestleMania. And I'm telling you right now, give them 25, 30 minutes. It's going to be the match of the year for the women. It could be even the match of the year for all of the WWE. And I'm being serious. Bianca and Sasha are going to kill it. They're going to absolutely kill it at WrestleMania. I can't wait to see what ring gear Sasha has. If it's like Koska Reeves ring gear or Sailor Moon, I cannot wait though. But this was a great segment, minus Reginald. They had like the pyro because Bianca decided to point at the sign again. So, I kind of like it. And it works because you're in the Thunderdome. So why not make it look like a huge, a grand spectacle, man. But I'm so excited for this match. I just need Sasha to retain. That's my only thing. That's my only thing. My only request. Let's end the WrestleMania curse. But, all in all, I cannot wait to see what kind of story they tell over the next 6 weeks. We still got a long way to go. So we'll see. Now that we know it's official, now we got to tell a story, right? And moving on, right, we had Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso to end the show. If Daniel Bryan won, he would get a Universal Championship opportunity against Roman at Fastlane. So Bryan, earlier in the night, actually, he talked to Edge. He was getting interviewed by Caleb Braxton, and Edge walked up saying, "Oh, so you don't think I could beat Roman Reigns, right? So in theory, if it does end up being you somehow, right, would you beat me?" And Bryan said, "As much as I would love to have this conversation, I got to beat Jey Uso and beat Roman Reigns first before we can even think about that." So they are teasing it. If they want to, they can do a triple threat. The layout is there. The layout is there, right? The seeds are already being planted. So I'm hoping, I'm holding on to a little bit of hope here that maybe Bryan can convince the company to, turn this into a triple threat at Mania with Edge and Roman Reigns, right? But we had the match here. We've seen Bryan and Uso multiple times before, right? You guys know how much I love Jey Uso, man. Match wasn't anything crazy, like I said, because we've seen it before. But it looked like Bryan was going to get the win here. But Jey Uso attacked Bryan's knee from the start. And there was actually a double count out here at the outside of the ring, So the referee really had no choice, as either man was, unable to get back into the ring. So afterwards, Bryan put Jey in the S lock, but even though it didn't really mean anything, right, because the match was already over. But then Reigns hit the ring and attacked Bryan. Of course, Reigns being that sneaky heel, right, waiting for his opponent to be down before he comes to the ring. So Reigns hit Bryan with a huge spear and then put him in the guillotine chokelock. As Bryan was left laying to end the show. So, like I said, this is building towards a match at Fastlane with these two. I just, wish it would mean something bigger, right? Because that's the energy here, man. Even though I like it, it deserves to be on the biggest stage, not a C-level pay-per-view like Fastlane, right? Bryan and Reigns deserve the biggest stage possible. So, I'm going to hold on to the little hope I have, but, we'll see. But either way, man, this was a good show. This was a really good show. Apollo's heel turn, Reigns and Bryan, right? Cesaro being built up, Sasha and Bianca officially confirmed. I loved it. It was a good show in my books, So let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of the show. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like on this video, man. Hopefully WWE can continue to ride this momentum going into WrestleMania season. These are the types of shows we need to be getting every single week on WWE programming. They can do it. They showed it to you last night that they can do it. I really did enjoy this show last night, man. And it felt good not to really have to rant on the podcast like I usually do on Monday Night Raw. I really enjoyed this show. It built towards Fastlane. It's building towards WrestleMania. We're finally seeing what the WrestleMania card take shape. And there's still a lot that we need to figure out, man. But SmackDown did a good job tonight, and hopefully they can continue that momentum, going forward. So other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on this video. Make sure to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by hitting the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Make sure to follow me down on social media. The links are in the description down below. If you guys missed the Fastlane review, the Elimination Chamber review, right? Make sure to go check that out. That is live on the channel. I would say go check out the Monday Night Raw review, but there is no Raw review. Like I said, I apologize for that. I did record one, but there was audio issues, so I had to take it down. So forgive me for that. Hopefully we won't have to deal with those anymore. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. I want you guys to go check out my Sasha Banks versus Bianca BelAir video that I did a couple weeks ago. Make sure to check that out if you guys haven't already, because I go into depth of why Sasha has to retain at WrestleMania. It's not even a joke, right? But we'll be talking about that. I'll see you guys later, man. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.